94.3 Royal FM, the heartbeat of Kigali. We pause at this special moment during this critical and very important session or commemoration week for the 100 days of the genocide against the Tutsi of 1994. On this 32nd Kwibuka, it's not only a time to remember, but also a time to reflect, to support one another, and also to continue building resilience as a community. As Rwanda, the region, East Africa, the continent Africa, and also the entire world around the globe. And to help us get through these moments, to understand, also to join those that are remembering the lives that we lost, those that survived, and those who strive every day to ensure that the ideology of the genocide against the Tutsi doesn't yield anything anymore. I'm joined by Dr. Charles Mdenge. He's a consultant, a psychiatrist with 14 years of experience, specializing in general psychiatry and also with expertise in geriatric and also child, adolescent, or forensic psychiatry and addiction. Known for his compassionate, patient-centered approach, and also he's dedicated to advancing the understanding and treatment of mental health disorders. Dr. Charles, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you on the show during these special days of the commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi, especially when you look at, the catastrophe, when you look at the effects and the impact of that tragic experience and the days, the tragic dark days that we encountered and we faced, and we had to persevere. And now that we overcame, thanks to all the people that had participated in the liberation, and also seeing that tragedy end. During these days, it's always difficult for people to, cope up with, be strong as well. But also, it's important to also get to understand how best we can remain resilient, because it is centered on the theme, remember, renew, and then unite. We're going to focus on trauma and the traumatic experiences that people always encounter, especially during these remembrance days when they commemorate their loved ones, these commemoration days, and when they remember the lives lost, the loved ones, and the impact it had. To begin with, what is trauma in this case?
Thank you very much for having me, especially in these days when we are commemorating 32nd anniversary of genocide against the Tutsi. Trauma is such a tragic, very, very, it has very big, significant impact on human lives. But to begin with, I think when people, in terms of creating awareness, people should understand what trauma is. Basically, trauma is a response to distressing, life-threatening condition, whereby one is left helpless and in unsafe situation. Basically, this is a trauma. Being a trauma response is not a weakness, but it's a response to abnormal situation. And to understand the impact of trauma, it has got effect on different aspects of the life. First of all, it has impact on emotions, whereby one always feels sad, one is fearful, one is at times even people may feel numb. In other words, they are not able even to respond to a stimuli. Not only on the emotional impact, but also it has an impact on the physical, whereby you see people complaining of having a chronic headache, having like heart beating very fast. Actually, some of the people who has had a traumatic experience reach to the extent of consulting a cardiologist thinking that they have a heart problem, but because of the fear, then it causes the heart to beat very fast. So these people go on having a lot of the physical complaints. I mentioned of the chronic headache and back pain. So many of them actually have physical complaints which are related to trauma, but they actually don't know that this is the cause. And apart from the physical complaints, it also reaches to a mental problem. Now it becomes very severe when it's not only emotional, but it leads to a serious mental condition like post-traumatic stress disorders, whereby an individual who has had the trauma, they have 3 cardinal symptoms which they experience, like reliving experience. You see somebody, we are now remembering 32nd, but somebody behaves as if the event is happening today. And that one we call in flashbacks. And they also have a symptom of avoidance. You find somebody, this is 32nd commemoration, but they fear going to commemorate, to join others in a commemoration. And then they also have another a serious symptom, which is they are very hypersensitive. They are very hypersensitive, so much so that even a very small trigger can react disproportional to an event that has happened. So these are some of the and because of this, it actually causes readers to unable to make a stable relationship, unable to be able to integrate with other people. So basically, this is what trauma means and what the impact that it has on emotion, physical, and also on, it may lead to severe mental illness like post-traumatic stress disorder.
Thank you, Doctor, for helping us in a nutshell explain what trauma is and what it stands for and its real meaning. And for your information, just in case somebody just joined us, Dr. Charles is from Solid Minds here in Rwanda, and he's helping us understand what trauma is, how people should deal with trauma during these days of commemoration. And Doctor, you mentioned about some types of trauma, yes, in that definition, but what are some of those common different types of trauma in this case?
Well, there is a direct trauma whereby one witnesses a violence or killing of the loved one. So this is a type of trauma. Then there is the survival. Actually, there are some people who survived and then they have got the guilt of surviving because they find themselves in the situation they are in, and then they sometimes ask themselves, why really did I survive? Then there is a collective, like a collective kind of trauma where there is a massive, the massive killing of people. So it may happen on an individual basis. It may even happen that trauma you may be traumatized because of surviving, and then you remain having the guilt of that, why did I really survive this? And then there is a bad, which is actually very bad. There is even intergenerational trauma. So you find that actually children who are born from the people who have been traumatized, they're also carrying a trauma, and this is intergenerational trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Sanga, I think we're going to be helping some of the audience listen. We should be mixing a bit of some Kinyarwanda and there. Just to remind people, so trauma mu Kinyarwanda ni ihungabana.
Ihungabana.
Yes. And like you said, somebody, yes, for example, they've not seen it happen. They are told stories about what happened, the atrocities, the tragedy, and the kind of way people behave during that time, and then it affects them, and it affects their thinking in this case. Is that what you called hypersonic in this case?
No, intergeneration.
Intergeneration.
Yeah. So you may actually there are some studies even that have been put in place, that have been published, talking about the epigenetic. So somebody who has a child who is born to parents who have undergone trauma, genetically they are predisposed to have a trauma, but also they can get trauma through the story that they are being told. Yeah.
Okay. You're helping us understand that way. Now, I want to get to the other psychological part in this case. What are the common psychological effects of trauma in this case? Because at the end of the day, it kind of affects our minds, and it gets into our psychology, our thinking, and it triggers, the emotions. You find people struggling to cope up when, especially during a period like this, they struggle, and even post this period, they still struggle, and it's difficult for them to, live within those normal conditions. What are those different common psychological effects of trauma in this case? I know there could be some emotion, for example.
Yeah, first of all, the trauma affected the way we feel, affected the way we think, and then subsequently affected the way we behave. So it means if you are being traumatized, actually, in the way of protecting yourself, there is a part of the brain that is responsible for survival, and this is called the amygdala. This is a part that is responsible for emotions. So once you encounter a threat, then your body has to respond in order to survive. So, and for somebody to survive, there is a disconnection between now the rational thinking. In other words, somebody who has been traumatized, it becomes difficult for the part of the brain to understand the rationale. To understand the rationale. And that's why, for example, they cannot differentiate whether this is 1994 or 2026.
Yeah.
So it's because now there is a disconnection between the part of the brain that is concerned with thinking. So they are still in the part of the brain that is responsible for survival. So you understand. And so you can see the mismatch. So somebody who is in a survival mode is always they're always scared. And if somebody is scared, you are trying to automatically you are trying the mechanisms of the survival.
This is where they feel insecure.
Yeah, they feel insecure, and they develop mistrust, and they cannot have a strong relationship, and they cannot have the capacity to make a long-term plan is compromised because of the trauma.
What about the physical, the physical part of trauma? Are there physical aspects of trauma in this case?
The psychological trauma that manifests into physical complaints.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. Actually, some of the people come to hospital complaining of the physical complaint. And I think I mentioned when I started the impact of it physically, where the people have the constant headache.
Yes,
people are not able to sleep.
The back.
And because of difficulty sleeping, subsequently they develop headache, and they develop back pain, they develop peptic ulcer disease. And actually, when you don't assess for a traumatic event, actually these people, you may think that they're having the physical problem, but actually they are presenting the physical complaints which as a result of the trauma.
That is, I think that's a little bit of some insomnia.
Yes,
insomnia.
I didn't want to use The technical word is like insomnia. I just mentioned the difficulty
lack
in
of
sleeping.
sleep.
Lack of sleep.
So it's also one of the effects of trauma.
Yeah, because if you are scared, you cannot sleep. Yeah.
If you're thinking hard about something that you're insecure about, you cannot find sleep because you keep wide awake.
You actually are alert. You are alert, and that's why you are very sensitive to a very minor trigger can cause you react in a way that is disproportional to the event that has happened.
It's 94.3 Roll FM, the heartbeat of Kigali. We're with Dr. Charles Mdenge from Solid Minds here in Rwanda. He's helping us understand trauma, especially during these difficult days, or these days of commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi. Doctor, you talked about triggers, and there's several triggers I know that could probably reignite some emotions, some feelings, of somebody who may even have found it difficult to heal or to even forgive. What are those most common types of triggers that happen, especially during triggering trauma in this case, during especially these days of commemoration?
This is very commonly seen, especially during commemoration, and especially when there are some specific songs that are normally people use during commemoration, and they really have very, very strong and sensitive words, and so some songs actually becomes a trigger, and even some testimonies, and actually we go into commemoration period, and then in the midst, when for example somebody is giving a testimony, and probably somebody relates with the testimony somebody is giving to exactly what happened, and at that point they actually fail to contain themselves, and they become emotional, broken. Yeah. So it could be songs, it could be speeches, it could be testimonies, it could be anything that is related, anything that reminds, and that is why people who are traumatized, they actually they have the symptom of avoidance, though, so they don't want anything that would remind them about the event that happened. So, and you see, in a commemoration, we always needed to bring in some of the stories, because this is something that we always want people to understand and know how the genocide took place, and then so some people it becomes really very hard when they reach at a point that looks similar to what they
experienced or they were told. You see, you also talk about finding it difficult to deal with, especially some of the stories as told maybe by the survivors or even the witnesses, as they try to, because you understand the impact and how grave it was, so that you say never again, never should this ever happen again, because it was grave, it was very deadly. It is something they never want to see again or even think about happening. I want to ask, yes, we're talking about trauma. Can it be treated in this case?
Yes, actually, there is a very big hope that once you seek for help, the earlier you seek for help, the better. But the problem is people who either don't have the information, and that is why we, in partnership with the media, the creation of awareness. So there are services available, and there are people who are trained, and the services available actually from the level of the health center, the district hospitals, the referral hospitals, even the private clinic like Solid Mind. They have the specialized people to help these people who have undergone trauma. Yeah. So once they come for help, they actually they are helped, and they are able to integrate and become fully functioning people like any other.
How does one know they have trauma, and what would happen if they don't seek treatment?
It's like any other disease condition. Once any disease condition is not treated earlier, it goes on worsening. And actually, we see people who have been traumatized reaching to extent of, for example, having other comorbid condition like severe depression, which would actually lead even to suicide thoughts and suicide. So if it's not treated earlier, then it can complicate into it becomes very severe, and some of them actually would have the suicide thoughts and even the suicide attempt. Yeah.
And during these difficult days of commemoration and people dealing with the emotions and the triggers and traumatic symptoms, and others trying to deal with them and seek treatment where necessary, how do we support one another? Because remember, it's all about renewing, remembering, and then uniting to fight against the ideology of the genocide from happening again, even from sowing its roots in the community. I know there are people that always want to sow that, especially outside. You've had stories of all that. So how do we support those experiencing traumatic symptoms or even triggers during these periods?
Thank you very much. I think this is very important because normally during commemoration, when people get triggered and they get a crisis, I think what should normally do with during commemoration, when the commemoration is taking place, there are people who are trained to help them. Especially there is psychologists, mental health nurses, social worker, psychiatrist, and even other organizations. So they are trained how to handle them, and depending on the severity of symptoms they experience during crisis, and the way to help them is to put them in a safe environment, to assure them that this is we are in a country which has a security, because actually when they get triggered, it's as if they are in the midst of the genocide.
Some of them tend to lose hope.
Yeah, some of them even may have very severe agitation, and they may they may actually behave as like the time when they were hiding. So you need to be close. There must be somebody close to them and in a calm way, and reassuring this is a safe environment. And sometimes at the site of the commemoration, people do recover. And then when it becomes actually very severe, there are also some other planned healthcare facilities to help them. Some of them are transferred to the healthcare facility that are planned to help during commemoration. But at the site, the first thing is to put them in a safe environment. You talk to them slowly, and you don't need even to push them to talk. But you need to reassure them and to calm them and to make them feel secured. So in that case, sometimes they do recover and then they go home with others. But those probably who have a severe symptoms like agitation or even confusion, they transfer them to a healthcare facility for further management.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nagira tugana ku musozo. Nagira twimure gato tuje mu Kinyarwanda. Udusobanurire ibyo twaganiragaho cyane cyane ku ihungabana, ubwoko bw'ihungabana tuba dufite mu gihe nk'ibi ngibi bikomeye byo kwibuka jenoside yakorewe abatutsi mu gihe 1994. Tugana ku musozo w'ikiganiro cyacu.
Ihungabana nk'uko twabivuze ni ikintu iyo umuntu ahuye n'ikintu giteye ubwoba ariko bw'indengakamere, bituma adatekereza neza kubera ku kuntu yenda muri science bishobora kuba complicated cyane, ariko hari ibice by'ubwonko bishinzwe ibintu runaka. Ni ukuvuga ngo iyo ubonye ikintu kiguteye ubwoba, ako kanya habamo connection n'igice cy'ubwonko gishinzwe gutekereza neza, kikaba kiti no, ibi byihorere, ibi ntukwiye kubyitaho. Ariko iyo uhuye n'ubwoba bw'indengakamere, icyo gihe uhora usa nkaho nyine uri under attack, uhora usa nk'ufite ubwoba. Uko rero guhora usa nk'ufite ubwoba ntabwo bituma ushobora kuba umuntu ufite ubushobozi butekereza neza, ufite ubushobozi regulating amarangamutima neza, bikubuza ubushobozi bwo gutuma washobora kuba umuntu ushobora kubana n'abantu, ugakora contribution. Ari nabyo bishobora gutuma umuntu ashobora kugira one of the uburwayi bukomeye cyane ubwo bajya bakunda kuvuga bita post traumatic stress disorder. No kuvuga iyo wagize disorder uba nyine watakaje yego ufite biriya bimenyetso navuze byo kumva usa nkaho uri mu gihe cy'intambara, cyangwa se gutinya kuvuga bino bintu, cyangwa se guhora uhangayitse. Ibyo rero bigatuma utashobora nyine kugira ikintu cyo wigezaho nk'umuntu. So niyo mpamvu nko muri kino gihe haba habaye amahugurwa y'abantu kuri levels zitandukanye, kugira ngo abantu batangire banamenye niyumva afite ibimenyetso bimwe, yumva afite ubwoba, nawe ubwe atari yagira ikibazo gikomeye cyane, aba yashobora kwegera ari abajyanama b'ubuzima, ari even different organization, church organizations. Ibi byose ntabwo byashobora gukorwa n'abantu bamwe, bikeneye a multidisciplinary approach, including the community leaders, the faith organization, the health sector. So bikeneye abantu benshi kugira ngo bashobore gufasha bano bantu bahuye n'ihungabana.
Tujye ku hungabana ritandukanye, rifite ubwoko butandukanye. Hari ihungabana riba nyine mu bwonko, mu bitekerereze, nk'uko tubwiye nyine ryahungabana riba rigaruka ku mubiri, ukavuga uti hari ukuntu wenda umugongo umurya, ugasanga hari imice na imwe yumva atamerewe neza. N'iri hungabana riba ritandukanye mu buryo.
Ni ukuvuga ngo umuntu ashobora kugira ihungabana akagira ibimenyetso bigaragara ku marangamutima, kwa kugira ubwoba, kwa kurira, kwa kumva agize umujinya. Ayo ni amarangamutima aba yahungabanye. Ibyo rero umuntu umeze gutyo nyine biba bigoye kugira ngo ashobore kugira. Ariko noneho hari n'umuntu ushobora ibyo ngibyo byo yaciyemo bigenda bigasa nk'ibimubyiganiramo, noneho bigashakira ubwabyo bigashaka aho bica. Aho bica rero hashobora kumvikana kenshi ni mu mubiri. Iyo nyine ufite iyo psychological problems, akenshi utangira yenda ubura ibitotsi, hanyuma kubura ibitotsi ugatangira kurwara umutwe udakira, ukajya kwa muganga bakaguha imiti itandukanye, bakagukorera ibizami bitandukanye. Iyo utagize rero guhura n'abantu bafite ubumenyi cyangwa bahuguriwe mu bintu by'ihungabana ngo batekereze, banavuge bati uyu muntu wahuye n'iyi traumatic event, bino bimenyetso bishobora kuba biri not physical origin but psychological origin. Hari igihe umuntu agomeza agenda yivuza, bakora ibizame, rimwe na rimwe kera hatari haboneka n'ibikora ibizame birimo advancing nka za MRI. Hari igihe umuntu bashobora no kumukorera operation kugira ngo barebe uyu muntu uhora ubabara hano hantu niki. Ariko at least this time usanga umuntu bamukorera ibizame bakaba bati ko tubona ko twakoze ibizame ariko tugasanga nta kibazo. Kumbi it's a psychological problem that is manifesting with physical manifestation.
Birumvikana. Uruhari rwacyo muri za quartier zacu, ko nyine ushobora kuvuga utinira kujya ku kigo nderabuzima wenda uri gushaka nk'umuganga ngo amungane cyangwa se nkamufashe kurwanya ihungabana, cyangwa se wenda kumuganiriza muri ubwo buryo. Uruhari rwacu k'abaturarwanda rwaba uruhe mu gufasha uwenda umuntu waba agize ihungabana, baba amarangamutima, imitekerereze, kuko aba twegereye nitwe tugomba kumaza twamufasha mu gihe ataragera no ku muganga amufashe. N'ubuhe butumwa wagira abantu n'inama?
Nagira inama abantu kuba hafi ya bagenzi babo, na cyane cyane abantu bahuye baciye muri genocide survivors, akenshi baba baziranye. So muri kino gihe rero baba bakwiye kubegera, baba bakwiye kuba bugufi, baba bakwiye kubahabwira amagambo abahumuriza, atabatera ubwoba. So ni ukuvuga ngo twese aho turi, yaba ari mu midugudu, yaba ari abo dukorana, tuba dukwiye gufashanya ku buryo bano bantu tubaha support irimo, tubaha support. Hari n'abashobora gukenera yenda some physical support or financial support. So ni ukuvuga ko dukeneye kubaba hafi, tukabaganiriza, tukabaha amagambo y'ihumure, tukabaha n'izindi support, zaba financial, zaba they need our support.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mu ngibi twibuka Genocide yakorewe Abatutsi 1994. Tube hafi bagenzi bacu, tube hafi imiryango yacu, dukomeze kwamagana ivangura ndetse no gukwirakwiza ideology ibiba rwango ndetse na genocide, ko ntabwo ari ibintu byiza. Kandi ikindi dukomeze kwibuka, kwiyubaka, twiyunga ko twese turi Abanyarwanda kandi twese twaremwe n'Imana. Dr. ngushimire kandi na Solid Minds mwakoze gufasha abantu. Your last message during these commemoration days?
I can say dukwiye kumenya ubuzima bwo mu mutwe, dukwiye kubwitaho, dukwiye kubuha priorite, cyane cyane ko bufitanye isano na kino gihe turimo, cyane cyane ko twibuka ibintu bigoye twaciyemo. So dukwiye kumenya ko hari aho abantu bagomba gufashirizwa kugira ngo bibarinde yuko bishobora kuba bibi cyane. That's what I can say. Yeah.
Dr. Charles Mdenge, thank you so much. He's from Solid Minds here in Rwanda. But please be close to somebody and remember, renew, unite.